Hello everyone, it's Nate here again, and I have another tutorial for you, and this one is going to be about Photoshop Lightroom presets. Now there seems to be a bit of confusion out there on the internet on how exactly presets work and why it seems that when you start clicking on your presets that you can't seem to add more than one preset at a time. And hopefully today I'm going to clear that up a little bit for you. So right here I have an image of an old car I took a while ago, and I want to add some presets to it. Now in order to do that, it's better if we know exactly what goes on in the creation of these presets that you can download. Over here on the right, you'll notice that this is all by default. All these numbers are its default settings. Okay, and if you go into any preset, let's go down here to this fog killer, and you right click on it, and you go in Show in Finder, it'll show you where it is. And right click again, Open with, Other, your applications. Come down here to Text Edit and Open. Okay, so here is the actual preset just in text format, which is very helpful because as you can see, these are all the actual settings that were used to create this preset. Now here's where you might run into some problems. Now some people know how to create presets properly and others don't. So, well, you know, when you download them, you're just going to have to download them and see for yourself. Okay, so all of these here, exposure, fill light, saturations, all these adjustments down here, if they have a 0, then it's the default setting. They should not even be in this preset, because what happens is that if you include all of these, every setting that you're able to do within Lightroom, if you include those within your preset, and then you go and try and apply a preset on top of that, the one that you applied second overrides what was applied first, because these are all included in that preset. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about here. In order to create a preset, let's just click on Fog Killer and it applies this preset. Okay, now if you did all your adjustments over here and got it the way you want and you wanted to create your own, what you do is you come over here and click on this plus sign. Okay, see, by default everything is checked minus the graduated filters here. But then most people come up here, they'll type in the name of their preset, and then they'll hit create, unknowingly adding every one of these to the preset. Now you don't need to do that. Okay, if we back out of here, now concentrate over here on the right. I'm going to come back over and go back down here to import. Okay, now notice here, exposure, recovery, fill light, blacks. Now watch these numbers as I click on the fog killer preset. Ha! They don't change, do they? That's because whoever created this, now I'm not trying to dog on anybody, but they didn't use these when they created the preset. They used brightness, contrast, the presence settings here, clarity, vibrance, saturation, right? Those changed. Everything up here in the tone did not change. So again, if you go back up here, we'll do this one more time here. Open with Other. Scroll down here. I shouldn't have closed it, but anyway. Okay, now look here. Remember, exposure was not changed. Yet, right here, it is included in the preset. Okay, so let's back out of here again. Let's go back down here to import. Let's say I want to add this green door effect first. Ooh, that one used the blacks. See that one jump up from 5 to 24? Now let's just say I want to pump up the exposure, bring up the recovery. We'll leave the fill light at 0. Okay, say you adjusted these because your photo maybe was a little underexposed or whatever. Now I want to add the fog killer. Watch these numbers over here. Bow! See, fog killer overrode those and brought them all back down to their default because they were added in the preset. That's not the way to create presets if you don't want to make a bunch of people mad. Okay, so there's been some questions on how do I stack presets. I want to apply more than one preset to an image, but it keeps overriding the one that I did before. I'm going to show you a little trick on how you're able to do that. Okay, so here's your image. You want to add the fog killer preset. Alright, now if anybody else has any other way of doing this, please let me know. This is the only way I've figured out so far. If you just come down here, create a virtual copy of this image. Okay, here's the copy. Now let's go and apply a night lights. Nope, that didn't work. Just creating a virtual copy does not let you stack images. So let's remove that one. Go back here to our other one. Alright, now this trick does work. Right click, go to edit in. Now if you've set this up within your Lightroom preferences, you should have your photo editing choice available to you. I'm going to edit in Adobe Photoshop CS4. Click on that, and then it'll open up Photoshop, and it'll open up your image. Now the difference between export and edit in is that export will export a JPEG, a TIFF, what have you, to the location that you desire, but then you have to import it back into Lightroom. If you edit in Photoshop, don't do a single thing with your image. Just come up here and hit close. It'll ask you if you want to save. Make sure you say yes or save, that you do want to save your image. Let's get back in here. Okay, look down here. Here's the edit. Notice the edit.tiff. Here is the original. It opens it in Lightroom automatically for you. Okay? So if you export, you have to manually import it back in. If you select edit in, you don't have to. It automatically imports it back into Lightroom. Okay, now look, here's our settings. Okay, now keep an eye on the ones that have changed, the brightness, contrast, and the presence down here. This is the original photo that we just applied the preset to. This image is the one that we just brought back in from Photoshop. They're all zeros, okay? That means if I come back over here and let's do night lights black. Wow, look at that. It applied it over top of this preset. So on this image, let's do the same thing. Oh, see, it replaced that last preset. See the difference here in the images? This has both presets stacked, one on top of the other. This one, the last preset I chose overrode the one before it. Okay, so then you can come back in here. You could do this as many times as you want. Let's go back in and edit in Photoshop CS4 again. Okay, the second time you do this, since we are editing an edit, if you will, we want to edit a copy with the Lightroom adjustments. If we just edit a copy, the Lightroom adjustments won't be visible, and we certainly don't want to edit the original. So we want to edit a copy with the adjustments, and we want to stack it with the original. Click Edit. Once again, it's going to bring it up in Photoshop. And any time now. Okay, and once again, don't do anything to the image, just close it. Click Save. Once again, it brings it back into Photoshop. Now here's the first edit that we just did. Excuse me. Here's the edit-edit.tiff. This is the one that we just brought in. Okay, so with this one, let's go back here, and we don't want this last preset. Here's the first one we did. Here's the one that we added 2 presets to. Now let's add, oh, let's see, I kind of like this green door. It really punches up the green and yellow. It's almost comic book like now. Now that's a pretty sweet image. Alright, so if we didn't want that, hit Command Z to undo, or Control Z if you're on a PC. See these? They're back down to 0 again. Let's go back up here. Ta-da! Now I have just applied 3 separate presets to the same image within Lightroom. It takes a little bit of steps there. Just edit in Photoshop. It brings it back into Lightroom, and you can apply a new preset on top of the old ones. That is the only way that you're able to stack any of these presets one on top of the other. Now let's back up a minute, and let's say if the creator of this preset hadn't included any of these exposure, recovery, fill, light, or blacks when he created the preset. He or she, I'm sorry, I don't remember who created these, but if they didn't add these to the preset when they saved it, and you applied a new preset over top that did have some adjustments up here, then those would show up, but it would override everything else that that was in the old preset. I hope I'm not confusing anybody. Okay, so if you don't include them in the preset that you create, and you apply a new preset on top of that one, the new one will show through that first one. But if you include all of these, like I showed you here, if you created, let's say I created this preset, say I wanted to do this, even though I can't because these won't do that to the image because of the multiple presets. But see, they're all checked by default. This is not what you want. Here we go. Uncheck. If you don't mess with the white balance when you create your preset, don't check it. If you don't mess with the exposure, highlight recovery, fill light, black clipping, don't check it. Sometimes you might adjust the contrast. Don't check it. You might adjust the clarity. If you don't do any noise reduction in luminance or color or chromatic aberration, don't check it. Okay? Saturation and vibrance. A lot of times those are used. Check those. If you don't use split toning, don't check it. Then type in your name and hit create. The only things this preset's going to include are saturation, vibrance, clarity, and contrast. Now if you applied another preset on top of this one, and that new preset had black clipping, that black clipping would show up. But if it had contrast, clarity, vibrance, or saturation, that new one would override your old ones. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse you too much. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I've been working on this. I noticed that there's Flickr conversations going on about this, and I hadn't seen any solutions yet. This is the only solution I have come up with, so I hope this helps you out. And once again, if you have any questions about what I've just went through, I'll be more than happy to explain it again, or try and explain it a little easier if I can confused you. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Ciao.